I knew it wasn't going to be a technical thriller about airplanes because that's not the type of writer I am, but I wanted to explore what type of person would be drawn to that life. The type of life where you fly for literally 15.5 hours at a stretch, where you never sort of catch up on sleep, where you're always sort of driftless and homeless. And I wanted to find a character that would be drawn to that life for very specific reasons having to do with their past. So that was a very small doorway into what became a bigger story, and it ultimately became a story about family, about lies, about secrets. It's not a story about airplanes or flight attendants, but that was the beginning. When I was coming up with the idea for the Moonlit Earth, I knew that it was going to involve a character who was escaping his sort of very restrictive Middle Eastern country to act out, if you will, to sort of have a good time away from the prying eyes of his family. And the likely candidate for such a country was really Thailand. Now, I planned my research trip believing that most of the novel would be set in Thailand, and what happened was I decided that since I was going to that part of the world, I had always wanted to visit Hong Kong. And I had all this time planned in Thailand and almost no time planned in Hong Kong, but the minute my feet hit the ground there, I knew this is the primary setting for this book. Because what was happening was, out of exploring these characters and out of establishing the relationship between the two main characters, Megan Reynolds and her brother Cameron, I knew that this was turning into a story about financial corruption. I knew that theirs was a family that had been dominated and maybe even destroyed a little bit by the corrosive influence of family wealth. And Hong Kong is an absolute prime candidate for such a story. I mean, it's like a tuning fork for the financial industry in a visual way and in a psychological way. And so my research trip was very much a surprise. There is some of the book that is set in Thailand, but not nearly as much as I had anticipated at the outset. It has all the elements of a traditional thriller, but it is told from the point of view almost entirely of a woman who's never seen a gun in her entire life, let alone seen a gun used. And she's suddenly thrown into these situations of incredible danger and emotional intensity. And rather than treating her like a superhero, you know, female character, she's very human in those situations. And she has moments where she loses it and she breaks down and she reaches out to the people around her in a very real and, I think, hopefully intense and authentic way. And I was excited by that idea. I think we've seen a lot of thrillers from Jason Bourne's point of view, and we see less of them from the point of view of the every woman, if you will. It is a story ultimately about family, and while it does involve the world of private security contractors and the world of high finance, and while those elements do play a role in the novel, this is ultimately about a young woman discovering that her safety net, that the support system that she relies on, is basically built on a foundation of lies. And it's about that sort of very universal and very human story, that realization that what you've taken comfort in is not what it appears to be.